Picture this. The year is 1674. Deep within the cold, stone walls of the Tower of London, a group of workers is busy demolishing a staircase. As they dig away at the rubble under the stairs leading to the chapel of the White Tower, their tools strike something unexpected. They clear away the debris and find a wooden chest. Inside lie the skeletons of two small children. The discovery sends shockwaves through England, reigniting a mystery that had haunted the nation for nearly 200 years. Could these be the remains of the long-lost princes, Edward and Richard? To understand the weight of this discovery, we have to travel back in time, to the year 1483. England is in turmoil. King Edward IV has just died unexpectedly, leaving his 12-year-old son, also named Edward, as the new king, Edward V. The young king and his 9-year-old brother, Richard, Duke of York, are placed under the protection of their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester. This is where our story takes a dark turn. The boys are brought to the Tower of London, which at the time served as both a royal residence and a formidable fortress. Initially, this seems normal. It was traditional for new monarchs to lodge in the tower before their coronation. But the coronation never happens. Instead, their uncle Richard makes a shocking move. He declares his nephews illegitimate. An Act of Parliament, known as Titulus Regius, is passed, claiming that King Edward IV's marriage to the boy's mother, Elizabeth Woodville, was in. This bold claim effectively disinherits the young princes and paves the way for their uncle to seize the crown. And just like that, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, becomes King Richard III. Two boys, Edward and Richard, remain in the tower. At first, they are seen playing in the gardens, but as the weeks turn into months, the sightings become less frequent. Then, sometime in the summer of 1483, they vanish completely. They are never seen again. What happened to them? Did they escape? Were they murdered? And if so, by whom? This is the heart of the mystery of the princes in the tower, a question that has fascinated historians, writers, and detectives for over 5 centuries. So, let's look at the suspects. The most obvious, and the one favored by many throughout history, is their uncle, King Richard III. He had the most to gain. With the princes out of the way, his claim to the throne was secure. No longer would he have to worry about a rebellion rising up in the name of the rightful king, Edward V. His motive was clear, and he certainly had the opportunity. As Lord Protector and later king, he controlled the Tower of London and everyone in it. The contemporary accounts, many written after Richard's death, paint him as a ruthless villain who would stop at nothing to secure his power. Shakespeare's play, Richard III, cemented this image in the public imagination, portraying him as a monstrous tyrant who ordered the murder of his own nephews. But is this portrayal fair? Let's consider the counter-argument. Richard's supporters, known as Ricardians, argue that this is all just propaganda, written by his enemies to blacken his name. They point out that there is no direct evidence, no confession, no eyewitness account from the time that definitively proves Richard ordered their deaths. They suggest that keeping the boys alive, but out of sight, might have been a smarter political move. If he had killed them, couldn't their mother, Elizabeth Woodville, have produced their bodies to incite a rebellion? The fact that she didn't, some say, suggests she might have believed they were still alive somewhere. So, if not Richard, then who? This brings us to our second major suspect, Henry Tudor, who would become King Henry VII. 2 years after the princes disappeared, Henry defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field. Ending the Wars of the Roses and establishing the Tudor dynasty, Henry had a strong claim to the throne, but it was bolstered by his marriage to the prince's older sister, Elizabeth of York. This united the warring houses of Lancaster and York. But what if the princes were still alive when Henry took power? Their existence would have been a constant threat to his reign. Any rival could use them as a figurehead for a rebellion. So, did Henry find the boys alive when he took the tower and decide to quietly eliminate them to secure his own dynasty? Those who suspect Henry point out that he never launched a proper investigation into the boys' disappearance. He also never publicly accused Richard of their murder during Richard's lifetime. which would have been a powerful propaganda tool. It was only after he was securely on the throne that the narrative of Richard the Murderer really took hold. It was certainly convenient for the new Tudor king to have his predecessor blamed for such a heinous crime. However, just like with Richard, there's no concrete evidence linking Henry to the murder. It's all speculation based on motive and opportunity. Then we have a third suspect, a man named Henry Stafford, the Duke of Buckingham. Buckingham was initially Richard III's right-hand man. He was instrumental in helping Richard seize the throne. But just a few months into Richard's reign, Buckingham led a massive rebellion against him. Why the sudden change of heart? The rebellion failed, and Buckingham was executed for treason. Some theories suggest that Buckingham might have killed the princes on his own initiative, perhaps hoping to frame Richard and clear his own path to the throne, as he also had a distant claim. Or perhaps Richard ordered him to do it, and Buckingham later rebelled out of guilt or fear. When he was captured, he supposedly confessed to his role, but the details of that confession are lost to history. His motive is less clear than Richard's or Henry's, but he was a powerful and ambitious man who was definitely in the right place at the right time. So, we have these compelling suspects, each with a plausible motive, but no smoking gun. For nearly 200 years, the fate of the princes remained pure speculation. And then, we have that discovery in 1674. Remember the skeletons found under the staircase? At the time, the reigning king, Charles II, was convinced they were the long-lost princes. He ordered the remains to be placed in an urn and given a royal burial in Westminster Abbey, where they rest to this day. It seemed the mystery was finally solved. But was it? Let's look closer. The 17th century examination of the bones was, by modern standards, very basic. They concluded the skeletons were of the right age, and that was about it. Fast forward to 1933. The urn was opened, and the bones were re-examined by a team of anatomists and archaeologists. They confirmed the remains belonged to two children, estimating their ages to be roughly consistent with those of Edward and Richard. They also noted some dental peculiarities and signs of potential suffocation, though this was highly speculative. However, their methods have since been criticized. For one, determining age from skeletal remains is not an exact science, and their conclusions have been questioned. More importantly, they couldn't determine the sex of the skeletons with certainty, nor could they extract any usable DNA. And that's where we stand today. The bones in Westminster Abbey are our single most important piece of physical evidence, but we can't be 100% sure they are the princes. Modern forensic techniques, especially DNA analysis, could potentially solve this mystery once and for all. A DNA sample from the bones could be compared to a sample from a known maternal relative of the princes. Their line of descent still exists, but there's a problem. The remains are interred in a royal crypt in Westminster Abbey, and both the Abbey and the royal family have been reluctant to grant permission for another examination. They feel the boys, whoever they are, should be allowed to rest in peace. So, the debate rages on. Was it the calculating uncle, Richard III, clearing his path to power? Was it the shrewd usurper, Henry VII, securing his new dynasty? Or was it the ambitious Duke of Buckingham, playing a deadly political game? The story of the princes in the Tower is a perfect storm of missing people, political intrigue, and a frustrating lack of evidence. The discovery in 1674 gave the story a tangible, tragic focus, but it didn't provide the final answer. It transformed a historical rumor into a physical reality, yet the identities of those two small skeletons, and the story of how they came to be buried under a staircase, remain shrouded in mystery. It's a cold case that, after more than 500 years, continues to capture our imagination and challenge our understanding of one of the most turbulent periods in English history. What do you think happened? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into historical mysteries.